right, can we have your attention? We're going to start the program. It's going to be a couple hours.
You know how those attorneys are.
So I get to kick it off. Rick and I are going to just take a few comments and thoughts and then we'll turn it over to the man of the hour. I promise I won't be too long. I don't think Rick will be there. Guaranteed I won't be there. So, on behalf of the law department, want to wish Mark well for a well-deserved retirement. But kind of before we transition into that, many of you, do you know Mark's daughter, Lucy? Lucy, say hi.
Who doesn't know Lucy?
So if you give Lucy enough time, she'll ask you a really important question. And the question is, do you know my dad? He is a doctor and an attorney. And it's actually an important question because it reminds us of what a great opportunity we had in working with Mark, with somebody with these unique combination of complex skill sets and a complex license working together. And Mark did that for over 20 years on behalf of Altman, and we got to see many of us, some like Kathy and Jenny saw it from day one, many of us saw it for many years. And Mark, built a health system-wide risk management department. He led a legal team in various complex litigation issues. And he and Jim Savage and others created the captive. But as much as Mark's professional pedigrees are important, I think you realize very quickly with Mark what's actually more important is you're dealing with a person who has a first-class temperament and intelligence off the charts, emotional intelligence off the charts. And you're dealing with a guy who's thoughtful, caring, and very calm. So I think after tonight, that's what I'll remember the most, and I hope that you do too. But so Mark will send you off to retirement for well-deserved leisure time. But I did have a question for Donna.
Uh-oh.
So as Mark sticks around and maybe starts hanging around the house a little too long, and you might suggest, hey, why don't you go for a walk? What will you say to him if he looks you in the eye and asks, hey, do you know that I'm a doctor and a lawyer? So just to wrap up for me, I don't think the English words of goodbye or farewell really are good. So I'm going to steal the French word, which is au revoir. Until we see you again. So, Rick.
First of all, thanks to all of you for being here. If you're here this evening, you're important to Mark. And so just thank you for taking time to be here and to recognize Mark. So I think of three things, working with Mark for 22 years, three things come to mind for me. One is his love of his family, Donna, Lucy, Greg, but also a love for his Altman family. And so, you hear the term bleed Altman blood. Mark bleeds Altman blood, and I think he'll continue to bleed that Altman blood even when he's not here. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and Rob alluded to it, was Mark's calmness. And when you're somebody like me that's not calm, that calmness is really valuable. And so we've been through some tough times in the last 22 years, some great times, but some tough times. So that calmness was not only good for me, but it's also good for the organization. And then the third thing related to the calmness is his sense of humor.
Oh, yeah.
And again, coming from someone that has no sense of humor, you can see why Mark and I fit so well together. But he always had levity to the situation. And so those three things will be what I'll remember Mark about and for, and so I think you will too. So I hope he continues that sense of humor, because I have a little gift for him.
Oh yeah, that's silver bag, sorry.
Is it gonna buzz in my hand?
So the only downside of Mark, as you all know, is that he received both his medical degree and
Go blue.
his JD degree from the school up north. So I went all out. This is my personal. I think that fits.
Yeah.
I did happen to look, Keith, just for you, I did happen to look at Go Blues record against the Bucks the last 22 years. 17-5.
Well, my son went to Ohio State, and I paid Ohio State a lot of money. But actually, in the since 1992, when I moved to Ohio, I've sort of become an Ohio State, fan. Too strong, but thank you for your gift, as well as the kind words, and Rob, thank you very much. Second. I promise Rick I wouldn't be more than a half an hour.
Is this the abridged version?
I'm sorry, it looks like it's upside down. It is only single-sided.
Want any help, Father?
Wait, I'm sorry. This is Tim Tyner's. Thankfully, I have a spare here. And it is a book page, although double-sided. So the first thing I want to say, and this will be pretty quick, but I have to tell you a story about Lucy. She gave me permission, but really what it's about is telling the truth, and how important the context of telling the truth is, and how important sometimes details are in getting your idea across. And as lawyers, of course, we know that in trial it's really critical to help the jury understand. So when Lucy was, I don't know, maybe 10 years older, so she between 2005 and 2010, Joe Novak and I were pretty much joined at the hip and went everywhere together, all over at least the eastern part of the United States, seeing expert witnesses and others related to the antitrust litigation that we were under. And I'm the sort of guy that wants to be at the airport 2 hours, even if it's Canton, Akron, 2 hours before the flight, because I'd rather sit there and read a book than run for the edge of plane. So I would get up really early because we'd take the first flight out. Usually I'd get up early and leave. Lucy wouldn't even be up. So I think it was a Monday, I left early in the morning, and Lucy happened to have a speech therapy session that afternoon, and Donna took her, and Donna mentioned to the therapist before she went back for the session, she mentioned to her that Dad had gone on a business trip, and that's why I wasn't there. And so they had the therapy session and came back, and the therapist said to Donna, "I'm really glad you told me that, because what Lucy told me was that Dad got up in the middle of the night, packed his bag, and went and stayed in a hotel." and I've never forgotten that.
I love you, Dad.
Yeah. So, all right. So rather than put you all through an Academy Award kind of speech thanking everybody in the world that you can think of, even though all of you deserve some thanks from me as well as my family, and also to tell you what an honor it's been to serve this organization. It has been. Instead of doing all that, I wrote a poem that I want to read to you.
He is funny. I know that.
Well, we'll see. I sort of think there's some funny part to this, but we'll see if they do. I don't know. There is a certain sadness which falls upon me now, but with it comes some gladness that I think that I'll allow. At first I'm going to behave by taking long inhales, thinking of the time I'll save, not reading all your emails. I'm looking very forward, and so is my wife, I'd say, to learning how to cook a bird, or cook at all, okay? Perhaps I'll paint a painting with all the time I'll get, or do some entertaining, like singing a duet. Okay, it rhymed, you know. But thinking back on Altman time, I really can't complain. There was no word that made a rhyme, so this verse will end in vain. I've worked a couple decades here and had a lot of fun. You might not think of this career in law as a sensation, but think of it as drama, as a chance to tell my friends where to put the comma, colon, quotes, and hyphens. There and afters and heretofores all have their place in writing. As mentioned earlier, or before, punctuation can be exciting. If one likes this sort of thing, the job can be a blast, trying not to cause a stink or do the job half-assed. Of all the people I have met and worked with through the years, the ones I will remember yet are all of you, my peers. So thank you for your time today and all that we've been through. Together we have seen the fray, and don't forget, I'll miss you.
We do have some other gifts here for Mark, but he can open those in his leisure. I just wanted to let him know how to stay. So enjoy your evening, plenty of time. Again, thank you very much for coming.
So who didn't I hug yet?
You are a humorist, that's for sure.
Thank you.